Yo, Big Kish back up in here. Shout out to Rapaholics, man. Somebody hit me up and said, yeah, you know Rapaholics is actually What's the Dirt? That's Matthew. No, they Rapaholics is from Canada too, so you're probably hearing that accent. It's just the accent, but I'm able to differentiate that his verbiage and What's the Dirt verb is two completely, totally different, is different, bro. So Rapaholics is not What's the Dirt. It looked like he made some predictions here. 1 year ago, I think this is his anniversary video. I want to check out and react to it with you guys. I'm gonna leave a link in the description. Y'all know I like holding y'all. Without further ado, let's get it.
I don't think Drake thinks he can stand toe-to-toe with Kendrick and do that. Because does the risk really outweigh the reward? I think he knows that it might not be too smart to engage in this one. But listen, I could be wrong. I hope I am, because I'd love to see these two actually engage in a beef. That would be super exciting for hip-hop. I'm sure he knows that Kendrick is trying to bait him into a full-out beef. I'm sure he knows that it would take a lot of exhaustion and effort to actually keep up lyrically with the type of diss tracks Kendrick would throw at him. And I'm sure he knows Kendrick has a diss track waiting and ready for when Drake gives his response.
So he letting it be known, look, why Drake can't respond to Kendrick Lamar. He breaking it down for you, boy. Wordy's bond, boy.
What does Drake actually stand to gain by engaging in a beef with Kendrick? How could he even come at Kendrick? What could he say?
What could he say?
Lobries and Gentlegrams, in today's episode of Lobby in Gentleland, we'll dissect how a short-measured dental man concocted a special plan, carefully sketched and spanned, and I say dental because just like a crown on a...
I was just wondering that. I was like, why you say dental?
In Gentleland, we'll dissect how a short-measured dental man concocted a special plan, carefully sketched and spanned, and I say dental because just like a crown on a weak tooth, the culture's crown was placed upon a weak goof. La Brianna, the Marilyn Monroe hoe, reigned supreme in the Billboard show till just 1 year ago, when, just like a dentist in a tooth crevice, Mr. Duckworth surgically removed the junk. With just one verse, he took hip-hop out of its funk. So stick with me as we unpack how 1 year ago King Kung Fu Kenny brought real hip-hop back to that. Oh man, Lobbies and Gentlegrams, do you guys remember?
That was fire. Hold on, that was fire.
How 1 year ago King Kung Fu Kenny brought real hip-hop back to that. Oh man, Lobbies and Gentlegrams, do you guys remember 2023? It feels like a lifetime ago. Ever since then, we've gotten 3 petitions from the BBL balding bearded buffoon, 5 Grammys, a double platinum album, and a Super Bowl performance, and a stadium tour from Kendrick Lamar, and about 4,285 Big Macs guzzled by the grimace gaveling Graham Glazer, DJ Big Mac a Snackademics. Oh, and drop a subscribe and like if you think Big Mac a Snackademics is wider than a turnpike. Now, when it comes to Drake, Lobbies and Gentlegrams, we will be going way back, not focusing on the future, but instead the past. Because remember when Kendrick rapped, I resolved inside that private hall while sitting around with Jay, he said, it's funny how one verse can F up the game. That was way back in 2015. He was referencing the Control verse, and little did we know that that one Control verse would have a ripple effect that caused Kendrick to not F up the game one time with one verse, but spin back around over 10 years later and do the same thing with a second verse. This time on a whole different proportion. I'm talking on a scale larger than Big Mac a Snackademics. Alright, I'll leave him alone now. 2023, a year defined by... I don't even know what. What can you define 2023 by? What was memorable to you in music, in hip-hop, when you think 2023? Was it Travis Scott's comeback album, Utopia? Maybe you think about For All the Duds, For All the Dogs. Maybe you think about that one song that Cole and Labrie had on that album called First Person Shooter, because that song was the first time in a while where we heard 2 of hip-hop's biggest titans come together to celebrate their great.
Yeah, about that, what I said earlier, like, Matthew have a slow slur to his, when he speak. Rapaholic speaks way faster than him, and I like the words is different. The words are way different, but I hear the accent though. I hear the accent. You're right about the accent, but as far as them being the same person, nah.
Greatness. And we needed that form of lyrical sparring at that time. If you want a reminder on just how slow at least mainstream hip hop was in 2023, First Person Shooter was the only hip-hop song that year to hit #1 on the Billboard charts, unless you count Doja Cat's Paint the Town Red, or Jack Harlow's song Lovin' On Me. That's what was going on in hip-hop in 2023. The most successful female rapper that year was Ice Spice. The highest selling rap album that year was Drake's For All the Dogs, which had a critic's score of 5.3 out of 10, his lowest rated album. Hip-hop's overall market share within music was the lowest it's been in the entirety of the streaming era, with record labels actively investing less into hip-hop artists and more into country and Latin artists. Again, unless you include those Doja Cat and Jack Harlow songs, it took hip-hop 10 months in 2023 before it saw a #1 song on the Billboard charts with First Person Shooter. That's one #1 hip-hop song the entire year compared to 2018, which had 8 #1 hip-hop songs. Something needed to change, a spark needed to happen, and were Cole and Labrie going to do that with First Person Shooter? Well, you could say that was one of the more exciting moments that we saw in 2023, with both of them going back and forth, professing their greatness, finally acknowledging the long-standing fan acclamation that them and Kendrick Lamar were the top 3 guys within the culture, the ones making the most noise, generating the greatest impact, selling the most records, and rapping the best. But when you really break it down, when hip-hop from a numbers perspective is at a multi-year low, when labels are actively saying, okay, let's invest less in hip-hop and more in other genres, was it really the best time to celebrate being at the top of the game? Cole saying, right now I feel like Muhammad Ali, Drake saying he's the GOAT. I mean, if you two are the ones running the game and the game is in this state, what does that say about what you're bringing to hip hop when you have all this influence, when you're the #1 guy? When Drake's mentor Wayne was the #1 guy, he gave us the...
So they was about to start investing in different genres. So they say, all right, we already destroyed the culture. Let's go on to different genres because we already got them talking about deleting each other. You know what I'm saying? So Kendrick was like, nah, okay, all right. Y'all stay over there. Stop investing there.
The Carter 3 and single-handedly ushered in this entire new generation of rappers, from the look, the aesthetic, the fashion, the auto-tune, the voice, the face tats, the dreads, influence on another level. Same thing can be said for Kanye West when he outsold 50 Cent with Graduation, an album so good that people still use it to excuse his horrible actions of praising the Mustache Man. Or what about when 50 Cent was at the...
that college, what was it, College Dropout or something like that? Yeah, that joint I like that joint. That's a joint I like. But it's no excuse for Kanye to be doing this stuff that he doing. He doing so much stuff. We ain't about to list it right now.
The top of the game, shaking it up so much so to the point that Jay-Z had to look at all of his artists on Rockefeller and warn them to get their projects out before 50 Cent made it much harder to do so. My point is, when you have that crown, what are you doing with it? What type of influence are you bleeding, and what type of legacy will you be leaving? For Cole and Aubrey, it was about professing their greatness, but not about pushing things forward. Instead, almost celebrating their run as if this was a retirement game. First Person Shooter is like when an athlete gets their jersey hung up in their final game. Everybody's hugging on stage, everybody's praising each other, we're all acknowledging the amazing contributions you guys brought into the sport, but that song was really a reflection of the past, their past legacy, not what they were trying to bring into the future. And instead of it being a competition of who was going to take that #1 title of the big 3 into the next generation, it was more about them looking at each other like the Spider-Man meme, celebrating the fact that they both made it to the pinnacle of hip-hop excellence, but at a time when hip-hop, artistically and commercially, arguably was at its lowest. But Cole and Aubrey didn't...
Who would be accepted in the, okay, we know because there's this big argument online, like who's the next big 3? Where's the big 3? If it's not going to be Drake in it and it's not going to be Cole in it, who do you think is acceptable to stand beside a Kendrick Lamar? Like, who you think Kendrick will accept? Because he don't want to be standing beside nobody. So if Dot don't want to be standing beside nobody, it ain't gonna be no big 3 because he's just gonna diss him and get him up out of here. But who do y'all think is a great candidate to be a part of the big 3 or to be standing beside Dot other than Drake and J. Cole? Who else would be out there to stand beside him? Let's get it.
didn't want to address that. They wanted to celebrate the fact that they were the best when the genre was at its worst. But there was one man who was going to give us the truth. One rapper who was going to call it for what it was. While the camaraderie of first-person shooter was great, competition within hip-hop was almost non-existent. Who was going to take the torch from Cole and Labrie? Who would be the next runner-up? Who would be hip-hop's next superstar? Who would make the next classic album? When was the last time we got a classic album? In a pivotal time when hip-hop needed these questions answered more than ever, there was only one man courageous enough to stare down the scope of the first-person shooter, point the gun the opposite direction, and tell the crowd, "I'm the captain now. The Kung Fu Compton captain."
My intent, I think from day one, was to always keep the nature of it as a sport. I don't care how motherfuckers look at it as far as like, as a collaborative effort, you know, that's cool too, but I love when artists grit their teeth. What I will say about this year, it was more from a space where I think a lot of people was putting rap to the back and you didn't see that grit, you didn't see that bite anymore. So I always took that in consideration in going into any type of my music.
It was
Jay-Z said that. He highly hated the fact I put rap to the back.
very easy for Cole and Labrie to make first-person shooter, knowing that Kendrick was working on himself and not on hip-hop. He just got off at telling us he wasn't the savior, and he just got on to tour, bringing his Mr. Morale album across the world and bringing his fans a collection of music almost as empty as a McDonald's after it's visited by Big Mac Snackademics. What I mean by that is we hadn't gotten any new music from Kendrick Lamar for over a year and a half. And between Damn and Mr. Morale, aside from a Black Panther soundtrack, we didn't get a single album from Kendrick for 7 years, with Mr. Morale documenting Kendrick's journey through therapy and the album's final track literally ending off saying, "Maybe it's time to break it off, run away from the culture to follow my heart." This seemed as though it was Kendrick professing to us that his journey wasn't in alignment to his peers. Cole was saying, "Right now I feel like Muhammad Ali." Kendrick was rapping, "Sorry I didn't save the world, my friend. I was too busy building mine again." That's why it was so easy for first-person shooter to exist with no questioning. Kendrick, while he was more polarizing in his delivery, expressed the same message way back in 2013 on his Control verse, name dropping everyone in the game that he thought was the greatest at the time and saying, "I got love for you all, but I'm trying to murder you guys." What's so different about that? And Cole saying, "We're the big three, me, K-Dot, and Aubrey, but I feel like I'm Muhammad Ali, I'm the greatest." It's the same message. The only difference was, in 2013, there was a lot more backlash because a lot more people were gunning for that crown, whereas in 2023, 10 years later, competition was so low, so stagnant that no one batted an eye at Labrie calling himself the GOAT or Cole calling himself Muhammad Ali. And with them even inviting Kendrick to be on that song, the last thought in their mind was that the short-statured, sharpshooting assassin would come out of therapy with an unprecedented vengeance that hadn't been matched in over a decade. My temperament bipolar, I choose violence. What a time to be alive. March of 2024. The year kicked off how most years for hip-hop in the 2020s decade have gone. The first quarter is usually the slowest. We had a couple decent major releases. Kanye and Ty Dolla $ign went #1 with Vultures 1. 21 Savage delivered us his last solo album. Schoolboy Q delivered a phenomenal body of work with Blue Lips. And all eyes were on Future and Metro Boomin, who had announced that they'd be dropping 2 collab projects together. We knew these would be great. Future was at the top of his game. Metro had given us his best body of work with Heroes and Villains just about a year prior, but was this expected to be something that would change hip-hop forever? Not exactly. And the project started off pretty much how you'd expect it to be. Hard-hitting beats, strong hooks, nothing boundary-pushing, but it was a solid trap album. You guys remember where you were, like, when you first heard this? I'm a big Future fan, so I was sitting at home, like, waiting for it to release, played it the second it came out. If I remember correctly, they had already previewed 2 songs off the project. Cinderella with Travis Scott, and this one song that had this infectious loop on the beat that just kept going da-na-na, da-na-na, da-na-na. Metro had previewed this at a club a couple times. Funny enough, Travis Scott came out when Metro and Future did a set at Rolling Loud the night before the album released, and he told them, play this song specifically. He said, play that da-na-na, da-na-na, da-na-na. And at the time, Future actually had a second verse on the song. So
he giving y'all the breakdown of how I like that started out with that little dun-na-na-dun-na-na-dun-na.
You figured, or at least I did, that this would just be another solo Future song. But I definitely knew just from hearing that beat, from hearing the hook when they previewed it, that this would be the hit off the project. But nothing could brace me.
Wow, Rapper Hall is getting deep into this joint
for what we were about to hear. They did the classic, Don't put any of the features on the track list, so every feature is a surprise. Before Like That, we already got surprise features from The Weeknd, Playboi Carti, Travis Scott on the project. So again, it was off to a decent start. Nothing revolutionary, but it was solid. But then Future's first verse finishes up, the hook ends, you get that sample, "He was once a thug from around the way," and then boom, just like that, hip-hop would change forever. Just the way Kendrick starts off this verse alone, like, you could tell the type of energy he's on. And not one bar is wasted. He starts it off, "These guys are talking out of their necks. Don't pull no coffin out of your mouth. I'm way too paranoid for a threat." On First Person Shooter, J. Cole said, "We're turning your song to a funeral." On this track, Kendrick starts off saying, "These guys are talking out of their necks," which is obviously an expression for talking crazy. But your neck being connected to your throat, he's saying, "Don't pull a coffin out of your mouth. Don't start talking."
A coffin like a casket, but he's talking crazy. Coughing.
Talking crazy because it might end up leaving you deceased. You might pull that coffin right out of your mouth from the words that you're speaking. And him saying, "I'm way too paranoid for a threat," lets you know one thing, right? While Cole and Labrie were hugging and kissing on stage, doing the Spider-Man meme, pointing at each other, asking who's the GOAT, embracing, collaboration over competition, Kendrick took that whole song as an FU. Like, I'm out here finding my peace, I'm on the sidelines, and you guys are choosing now, when I'm on tour, when I'm silent, to start talking like how you're talking on First Person Shooter. The greatest part is that Kendrick flipped that whole thing around by dropping Like That when Drake and J. Cole were on tour together. That whole First Person Shooter song, they're talking about being as big as the Super Bowl. The tour was called Big as the What. And right as that tour ended off, Kendrick released this song that would later end up landing him a spot on that Super Bowl stage. Hey. And he continues letting you know what type of time he's on, what he's ready for. He says, "Let's get it, bro. DOT, the money, power, respect. The last one is better." And, when the 1-year anniversary rolls around for Euphoria, 616, all the diss tracks, we'll go through them like this, at least if you guys want that. Drop a comment if you want me to review all the diss tracks on their 1-year anniversary. But that whole trifecta of money, power, respect was a reoccurring theme within Kendrick's later diss tracks. But it changes so slightly with each track. On 616, he raps trifecta, money, morals, and culture. That's my leisure. And on Euphoria, he...
So is this 3 thing? So he going off for the 3s. He cooking right now.
He's comparing himself as a parent to Drake as a parent, saying he's teaching his son morals, integrity, and discipline, and that Drake doesn't know anything about that. And notice how he didn't include money in that trifecta. And unlike that, he starts off saying money, power, respect, but he says the last one is better. The respect is the most honorable thing to attain out of that trifecta. We know this was already targeted at Drake because his whole career has been about attaining the money and power. But as Kendrick dissects him on his diss tracks, he's showing the world that while Drake might have the money and power, he never truly attained the respect from the culture. And him saying DOT, the money, power, respect, DOT.
Well, I had no clue. Oh, yeah, he about to break down DOT. We need that. Hold on.
Money and power, he never truly attained the respect from the culture. And him saying DOT, the money, power, respect, DOT, obviously spelling out dot. Like K dot, his former stage name, but also the letters DOT standing for the 3 record labels of Cole, Labrie, and Kendrick. DOT. D for Dreamville.
Woo! I knew the DOT part, but Dreamville, OVO, and damn. I got too excited. Oh, man. Dang. That's wild.
Former stage name, but also the letters DOT standing for the 3 record labels of Cole, Labrie, and Kendrick. Damn. DOT. D for Dreamville, O for OVO, and T for Top Dog Entertainment. Kendrick is saying,
how many of y'all knew that? Yeah, I ain't hear that. I ain't hear that breakdown right there. Wow. That's fire. That's fire. How Gwitty do it? That's fire. Oh, man.
The last one is better. Again, not one bar wasted here, and he's telling you from the beginning of this verse who he's talking to. The next bar being, it
ain't no filler. Like, he has no filler in his joints at all. Like, no fluff just to get over to the next bar. Like, no fluff.
A lot of goofies with a check, a direct callback to the former line when he says, the money, power, respect, but the last one is better. The respect is better than the money, because there's a lot of goofies with a check. Goofy being a double entendre as well as check, since obviously goofy means like a goofball, like the gavel guzzling goofball Graham, but also being the name of the dog in the Mickey Mouse show. Drake's last album, when this verse was released, was For All the Dogs. And there's a lot of callbacks to dogs and For All the Dogs in particular. Check not only being a reference to obviously a paycheck, like a lot of goofies having a lot of...
Hey, look. Hey, where I ain't hear these breakdowns. Y'all let me know if y'all heard these breakdowns. I ain't hear them. I ain't hear these like, I ain't hear this like this. Yeah. And don't get the line either. Yeah, we been knew that. Yeah, all right.
Paychecks, a lot of goofies having money in this game, but also being the fact that Drake's biggest sponsor was Nike. Nike's logo is a check. Very apparent he's talking to Drake right at the start of this verse. But don't get it twisted. This was as much of a shot to Cole as it was to Drake. Drake was the main target here, but Kendrick was letting Cole know he could get it too. With the next bar being, I hope them sentiments symbolic. My temperament's bipolar, I choose violence. Him saying, I hope them sentiments symbolic means, I hope all that talk you were talking on first person shooter, you feeling like you're Muhammad Ali, you feeling like you're the GOAT, I hope that's not genuine. I hope that's symbolic, that's expressive, that's performance art. You're just putting on a role of being the greatest. You don't really mean that. Because again, right, think of the dynamics of where hip-hop was at when first-person shooter was released. Competition's at an all-time low. Impact is not on the level it was just a few years prior. They're talking all this GOAT talk when the sport is in critical condition. So Kendrick's saying, I hope all that talk was not genuine, because if it is, I'm choosing violence. Like, I'm here for whatever smoke you want. If you say you're the best and you really mean it, here's my warning shot. I'm on violent time right now, bipolar, because just about a year ago, I was saying, you know, I choose me, but right now, I choose violence. And he emphasizes that on the next bar, saying, let's get it up. It's time for him to prove that he's a problem. This is a shot at both of them, but I think
it's time for you to prove, Cole. You've been talking a lot. It's time for you to prove it. It's time for you to put your pen to your pad and do it. Now is the time.
Is where he really goes at Cole. When he's talking about, you know, the whole respect thing, that's where I think it ties more into Drake. He's saying, you kind of cheated or gamed the system. Like, you got all these #1 hits. You got to where you are by cosplaying, by generating repetitive formulas, by going the pop route, by stealing other sounds. In terms of whose pen deserved more respect and who years prior were talking like they were ready for any lyrical conflict with any rapper, that was J. Cole. Johnny P's Caddy, he was talking about, I'm the best rapper alive, headshot, and I go and ask the best rapper that died. They'll tell you he never lied. On Middle Child, he's talking about, if I smoke a rapper, it's going to be legit. First person shooter, again, all that talk about being Muhammad Ali. Kendrick is saying it's finally time for him to prove he's a problem. And I can't wait to review 7 Minute Joe with you guys. That's one that definitely gets overlooked a lot and addresses a lot of what we're hearing in this one verse from Kendrick. But he continues, again, going back to the clip I played you guys from his Apple Music interview, where he's talking about what motivated him to drop like that and, you know, have the 2024 run that he did. He was saying it's because he felt like hip-hop was at the back burner. People weren't talking about hip-hop like they were maybe 10 years prior. And it was songs like First Person Shooter embodying, you know, collaboration over competition that left the sport in this kind of stagnant spot. So Kendrick follows it up by rapping, it's time for them to prove that they're a problem. They're clicking up, but they can't be legit. No 40 water. Again, he's hoping those sentiments are symbolic. He's hoping they're not legit. And here he's saying they're hugging and kissing on stage. They're collaborating.
Be legit is somebody, E40. And I heard Deleted break it down, because, you know, that's Bay Area talk right there. That's Bay Area stuff right there.
But it cannot be legit. That vengeance, that violence cannot be legit. Plus, referencing E40's collective, The Click, but also referencing when Drake rapped on First Person Shooter saying, I'm down to click up on you guys and make a crime scene. Or Cole rapping on Middle Child saying, if I smoke a rapper, it's going to be legit. Kendrick here saying, they're clicking up, but it cannot be legit. And I love all these little, like, intermediary lines, if that's what you call them, like when he goes, I mean, or when he goes, get up with me, or hey, let's get it, bro. Like, this literally sounds like if you're about to squabble up, like you're jumping around waving your fist in the air and you're like, come on, get up with me. This is like theatrical. Like, you could picture Kendrick in the booth jumping around, like just ready to spar up, and then he lets it off. Like, if you had any doubt he was talking about Labrie and Cole, this next bar throws that all away. F sneak dissing, first person shooter, I hope they came with 3 switches. Again, showing the world that like he took first person shooter as a diss, a sneak diss, but a diss. And later in Euphoria, he'd obviously tell Drake, I hate the way that you sneak diss. I hate the way that you throw these little subtle shots instead of coming direct. What did he say on first person shooter? Like, who the goat, something about December to January. It's just you and Cole. Where's Kendrick in that? There's the sneak diss for you. So first person shooter, I hope they came with 3 switches. Like if they're out here sneak dissing, I hope they got 3 pieces on them. They're going to need that. Like they're talking about the big 3. They're going to need 3 guys just to take me down, just to take one guy down. And he continues, I crash out like F-rap, diss Melly Mel if I had to. Melly Mel being a pioneer within hip hop, and Kendrick going at hip hop's 2 biggest titans at the time, Drake and Cole in 2024. He's saying, I'll take it all the way back to 1970s if I have to. If I gotta diss Melly Mel to protect my spot, my legacy within this, I'll diss anybody. Crash out like F-rap. Like, this is mine. Then he goes, got 2 T's with me, I'm snatching chains.
Did Melly Mel say something about Eminem or something like that? Was that Melly Mel that was going at Eminem? Or it was, I think they went into a battle or something? I don't know.
And burning tattoos, it's up. Lost too many soldiers not to play it safe. 2 T's being the name of Kendrick's bodyguard. Or sorry, the director of security at Top Dog Entertainment. And on Untitled 2, a track way back in 2016, Kendrick even rapped, 2 T's told me I'm the one, I could put a rapper on life support. And in terms of, you know, snatching chains and burning tattoos, it's funny how those bars played out, right? Yeah. I mean, not only did Kendrick rap on Mother I Sober in 2022 saying, I know their secrets, every other rapper S abused, I see him daily burying their pain in chains and tattoos. And that's obviously, you know, far before the beef, but long after the beef, we see Drake rocking tattoos that he very well should be burning off his skin. I believe he has a reality.
So they hiding all of their pain, they childhood pain and trauma with all them tattoos and chains. Yeah, RB, hey, look, you don't know.
Rihanna tattoo. Him and LeBron had a falling out over this beef. He's got LeBron tatted on him. And worst of all, I mean, on Not Like Us, Kendrick rapped, effed on Wayne's girl while he was in jail, that's conniving, then get his face tatted like a B apologizing. Drake can never look at that Lil Wayne tattoo that he has on him the same. He was most literally burning tattoos. And he continues emphasizing that, you know, his sentiment is not symbolic. He's talking literally, not figuratively. He says, if I walk around with that stick, it's not Andre 3K. Andre 3K, a couple...
It ain't a flute, nigga. Look, it is not a flute.
Months prior, had just released a flute album. A flute being a musical instrument in the shape of a stick. Kendrick saying if he's picking up a stick, it's not the same way Andre 3K is. He's picking up a literal stick. And J. Cole, funny enough, also had a song called Stick, where he rapped, I'll still treat a ride through the hood like a hike in the woods, got a stick that I take with me. This was most definitely a shot at Cole as much as it was at Drake. But with Cole, the shots were more like, you know, let's see if these sentiments are legit. Let's see if you're really about it. Like, if you pick up the stick, is it like Andre 3K, or are you really picking up a stick and you're ready for war? It's time to prove you're a problem. With Drake, it was more like, I hate the way you walk, talk, and dress. You have no respect. You are not part of this culture. With Cole, it was,
dang, this is getting good, bro. I'm at 30 minutes. I ain't supposed to be going this long. God dang, it's getting good. I'm gonna watch it on my own, because I watch it on your own. I'm gonna leave a link in the description. I wasn't supposed to go this long though. Yeah. Dang, he's breaking it down. Pause. Yeah, Rapaholics got, hey, look. He getting busy on this one, so I can only imagine what it's about to turn into. Yeah, I didn't go watch the rest of this on my own. And I suggest y'all do the same thing. Show Rapaholics some love, y'all. Please. I know this took some work right here. This was fire. This is fire right here. I like that. The DOT, Dreamville, OVO, and Top Dog. Fire. I like that. I never heard this. But yeah, y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section. Big Kish signing out. I'm gone, y'all.